This episode of The Witch Wave is brought to you by Ritual and Shelter. Looking for a magical place to shop and hold space? Check out Ritual and Shelter in Homewood, Alabama. Browse through their bookshelves covering topics of magical history, theory, and practice, as well as tarot cards and oracle decks from well-known artists, and even decks created by local witches in Alabama. From teas, tonics, and tinctures to toad skulls and tourmaline towers, you can find all of these and so much more on their witchy website, ritualshelter.com, or in person. So lather up that flying ointment and travel down to Ritual and Shelter in Homewood, Alabama, or check them out online at ritualshelter.com. Did you run out of flying ointment? Well, they have that too. This episode of The Witch Wave is brought to you by The Vintage Storyteller. The Vintage Storyteller is a brick and mortar book and curio shop in Western Minneapolis. And I love Minneapolis, so I'm definitely going to hit it up next time I'm there. Shop owner and curator Kari has created a creative haven shop that aims to inspire, support, and assist in getting your story told in whatever form it takes. As a former librarian, Kari has curated a wonderful collection focusing on nature, creativity, art, and all things witchy. The shop is a treasure trove of inspiration. There are cabinets of curiosities filled with unique items, over 100 tarot and oracle decks, journals, stickers, cards, candles, and other supplies from indie artists, all that match the aesthetic of the shop and its vintage vibe. And as you browse the unique selection, you can choose your tunes on a working 1960s jukebox. Ooh, I love that. The Vintage Storyteller hosts in-store classes and workshops revolving around nature, creativity, and the cycles and seasons of the year. On your next trip to Minnesota, or if you're lucky enough to live there, be sure and make a point to stop at the Vintage Storyteller Books and Curio Shop in Maple Plain. Check out what's new and join the mailing list on the shop Instagram page at The Vintage Storyteller. Hi, Witch Wavers. Let's talk about merch. You asked for it, so we made it happen. We now have print-on-demand Witch Wave merch now available for you via TeePublic. This means that you can get different variations of our gorgeous Witch Wave logo or our Witches Are the Future catchphrase printed on t-shirts, mugs, totes, stickers, magnets, notebooks. Oh my God, the sky's truly the limit. And shirts come in different styles and fabrics and colorways and are available sizes small through 5XL, so you can order whatever you'll feel you're most comfortable in and you're most magical in. So head on over to teepublic.com/stores/witchwave. That's teepublic.com/stores/witchwave. Or you can click the TeePublic link in the Witch Wave shop over at witchwavepodcast.com/shop.
The world is filled with bewitching people, and you might be one too. Welcome to the podcast where art is magic is real, and reality is stranger than dreams. I'm Pam Grossman, and this is The Witch Wave.
Hello, and welcome to Season 8 of The Witch Wave. Can you believe it? Lucky number 8, a number considered divine by so many cultures. As I write in my forthcoming book, Magic Maker, 8 is considered particularly magical and fortunate in Chinese culture because the Mandarin word for 8, ba, sounds similar to fa, which is the Mandarin word for prosperity or wealth. And variations of the number 8 as being holy show up in many other cultures, from the 108 beads used for praying in Hindu and Buddhist prayer bead traditions to Jewish culture, in which the number 18 is considered lucky because 18 is also chai, which is the Hebrew word for life. So may season 8 of The Witch Wave be prosperous and filled to the brim with good fortune and lots of life. Blessed be. And we are kicking off this season with a bang because I have the very good fortune of getting to speak with one of my artistic heroes, Cécile McLorin Salvant, who is a living legend of a singer and composer who won the Grammy for Best Jazz Vocal Album 3 times and has been nominated even beyond that. And as you will hear, she is just divine. But before we get started, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that this is also an election year here in the States. I hope that you will vote in November. And right now, I hope that you will register to vote if you haven't already, because you got to do that by certain deadlines, which vary from state to state. And even if you think you're already registered to vote, I hope you will double check that you are still registered, because there have been all kinds of shenanigans with voter purging and voter suppression. So yeah, make sure your registration is still active. And you can check all of this out at vote.gov. And I really hope that you will not sit out this election. And look, I share a lot of the disappointments and anger that many of you have regarding the atrocities in Gaza, and I hope you will join me in donating money to the Palestine Children's Relief Fund, as well as continuing to raise your voices for a ceasefire and peace in the region. And I hope you will also consider that the climate crisis, reproductive rights, LGBTQ+ rights, the rights of people of color and immigrants and indigenous people all hang in the balance this election. I hope you will vote to protect the rights of the most marginalized populations here in America. And I hope you will vote against bigoted, fear-mongering rhetoric that Republican candidates are using to stir up hatred towards marginalized groups such as women and Black people and queer people and Jewish people and immigrants. Just a few tiny recent examples of how they've been doing this in case you haven't been paying attention. The Republican vice presidential candidate has talked about childless cat ladies, which I happen to be myself. And the presidential candidate has talked recently about Haitian immigrants allegedly eating cats and eating dogs. And in Ohio, the Haitian population is facing real-world discrimination and threats because of this lie. And look, I'm disgusted by this language on its face because it is so hateful, and also because it employs the same tropes and the same language that have been used to demonize many marginalized populations for centuries. Jewish people, liberals, women, quote-unquote witches, they've been said to kill babies, to abuse children, to worship the devil. They're dangerous, they're demonic, because they're different. So this current iteration of these tropes would be easy to dismiss as unoriginal and idiotic and tired and obvious and overused if it wasn't actually harming people, which it has and does. Now look, today's episode is a truly joyful episode. And I promise, Cécile and I don't talk about politics during it at all. So if you don't want to hear me talk about the election much longer, don't worry. You can skip over the rest of this intro and go right to the interview. And just to be clear, I don't even know what Cécile's politics are, so I'm in no way speaking for her. But I will say that one of the things that she and I do talk about is her French and Haitian ancestry and her increasing passion for learning about Haitian magic and mythology. Cécile grew up in Miami, but as we talk about during this episode, her mom is French and her dad is Haitian. And so when I hear someone grossly mischaracterizing any immigrant population and painting them as barbaric, threatening, dangerous, I get not only angry, but all the more motivated to vote against that kind of talk. So I will be voting for hope and respect and the protection of all Americans and for immigrants, and I hope that you will consider joining me in doing the same. Anyhow, I will not only be talking about the election and politics during this season 8. I promise you, I assure you, but it felt really important for me to say so here now. So thank you so much for indulging me and for listening and for considering my words. And thank you for being here and for bringing your magic to the show. I'm so excited for you to hear all about Cécile McLaurin Salvant's magic and music, and I just know you're going to love what she has to say and sing about. But before we get to that, first, let's check and see what's come through on the Witch Wire.
Who is it?
Witches!
Hey Pam, it's Margot. I'm calling you because I recently started working with the goddess Athena. She's someone that I guess have to some degree avoided over the course of my life as I've been more aligned with or attuned to qualities in goddesses like Aphrodite, Artemis, Hecate, maybe the more, well, I don't want to say the more witchy goddesses, because when you start studying these archetypes, there are so many connections through the mythology and people's experiences. But I wanted to talk to you about it. I mean, obviously I have the internet as a resource and plenty of books. I've read Jean Chenot de Boland's Goddesses in Every Woman and loved it. But this is something that is part of your practice that you speak about and write about. And so I'm really curious, when you begin a devotional practice and open up a relationship with a goddess that you haven't worked before, or a deity of any sort, how do you do that? How do you go about doing that? I think that I'm not the only listener that would love to hear your response to that, and really look forward to hearing from you, and just so appreciate the Witch Wave. Thanks for all you do.
Hi, Margot. Thank you so much for your lovely words, and thank you so much for your lovely question. And you're right, people ask me how to connect to a new or a new to them deity all the time. And so I'm happy to share a little bit more about how I do it. So absolutely, like you said, Google is your friend and researching is your friend. And I will often start out by reading the basics about the stories and myths associated with a deity. And I also love learning about certain colors and plants and stones that are associated with that deity, which I will then sometimes incorporate into my practice as spell work or offerings. And sometimes it's as simple as learning about the traditions and practices that prior generations have already used to honor this deity. So let me give you an example. A couple years ago, I started working much more actively with the Greek goddess Iris, who is the goddess of rainbows and divine messages. And so first I started out by researching her, and then I added different representations of her on different altars and spaces throughout my home and my life. So I was, for example, gifted a sort of relief sculpture of her head. And next to it, I placed a prism because clearly a prism is an object that makes rainbows, and so I thought she'd appreciate it. But I also read that ancient Greek worshippers of Iris used to honor her with fig cakes. Now look, fig cakes are a little hard to come by these days. Not impossible. Maybe you want to try making one. I personally don't. But fig Newtons are everywhere. Or in my case, the organic knockoff version that my grocery store happens to have. I think they're called like Nature's Bakery fig bars or fig cakes or something like that. Anyhow, so tracking down some physical representation of the deity and putting some associated symbols and offerings near that physical representation is a really great place to start. And then you can leave the offering outside if it is perishable when you're done with the ritual. But to be honest, what really helps deepen and personalize my connection to a deity is to look at works of art that they have inspired. So a lot of times I'll just go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art's website and type in the deity's name and see what paintings and sculptures and artifacts come up. And I'll spend time reading about them or meditating on them, or I'll print a picture of them out. I also have been known to Google poems that have been written about or to that deity in question, and I will read that poem out loud to the god or goddess. But my favorite thing to do is to make a playlist for the deity in question. And so I will literally go onto Spotify and search for songs with the deity's name in the title, or songs about different symbols or elements associated with that deity. And not only is creating the playlist a sort of offering, I then listen to the playlist as an offering or as background music to a ritual or other magical working that I'm doing in honor of that deity. So, for example, I have an Iris playlist on Spotify. And yes, it is public if you look under my username, which is Phantasmaphile. And the playlist is called Ode to Iris. And it is filled with songs about rainbows and songs that have the name Iris in it. And this playlist has everything from the song Bold as Love by Jimi Hendrix to Iris by John Coltrane to Talk Talk's song The Rainbow. And hopefully this goes without saying, but I only include songs I like and connect to and want to listen to. That's just me. And by the way, for those listening, I now have an entire online workshop about Iris called Prismatic Magic that you can download from the Witchwave shop if any of this is making your antennae tingle. But anyhow, yes, playlists for the gods. I just love making them. I love listening to them, and I highly recommend it. So getting back to Athena, you can make a playlist for her with songs that have the word Athena in the title, obviously. A really great song by The Who is called Athena. That just popped into my mind. But I'd also include songs maybe about wisdom and owls and crafting and strategy. P.S., which are all pretty witchy as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, whatever symbols of hers that resonate with you or elements of her stories that resonate with you are the ones that you can focus on for your playlist. And again, I'm focusing on music here just because that's how I work, because as far as I'm concerned, art is magic. But for you, maybe you want to connect with Athena in a way that is more about athleticism or cooking or volunteering at an animal sanctuary that, specializes in owls. I know someone who took up archery to connect more to Artemis, the goddess of the moon and the hunt, because the bow and arrow is one of her symbols. And so I'm thinking about how Athena often holds a shield and a spear. So maybe you want to learn fencing or javelin or something like that. Anyhow, you get the picture. You honor the deity by incorporating their energies, their symbols, and their elements into your life, the way you, in particular, like to spend your attention and time. So you can do the more traditional practices, yes, like burning incense made of plants that the deity is known to like, or leaving contemporary versions of the offerings that the ancients would have left. But you can also figure out ways to honor these deities based on your interests and your talents and your gifts. That is how to forge a personal connection, by bringing your individual spirit and magic to meet them and honor them in the way that only you can. Now, on to my guest, Cécile McLaurin Salvant. Where to even begin? She is a 3-time Grammy-winning singer and composer, considered by many to be the Ella Fitzgerald or Sarah Vaughan or Billie Holiday or choose your own iconic vocalist of our time. The late opera legend Jesse Norman described Salvant as, quote, a unique voice supported by an intelligence and full-fledged musicality which light up every note she sings, unquote. Salvant's style and repertoire are extensive and expansive, connecting vaudeville, blues, theater, jazz, baroque, pop, and folkloric music. She's known as an eclectic curator, unearthing rarely recorded, forgotten songs with strong narratives, interesting power dynamics, unexpected twists, and humor. She's widely adored and decorated with such awards as being the winner of the Thelonious Monk competition in 2010, the MacArthur Fellowship, known in shorthand as the MacArthur Genius Award, and the Doris Duke Artist Award, in addition to the aforementioned multiple Grammys for Best Jazz Vocal Album. In addition to her stunning singing, I love her penchant for lavish costumes, and, of course, the tropes of mythology, magic, and monstresses, which often show up in her original songs as well as her interpretations of existing ones.
I'll dance with the ghost of our love. I will dance with the ghost of our long-lost love. I'll carry the ghost of our love. I will carry the ghost of our long-lost love.
Her 2 most recent albums, Ghost Song and Melusine, include songs about supernatural love and mythic transformations, and her forthcoming album and animated feature film, Ogress, is a musical fable she describes as both a biomythography and an homage to the Loire Urzeli. In addition to all that, Salvant is a tremendous visual artist, and her fantastical drawings, embroideries, and paper cuttings can currently be seen up at Picture Room in Brooklyn through November 3rd, 2024. Cécile is also embarking on a world tour, and she is going to be at Carnegie Hall several times over the next few months, and I can't wait to catch her there myself in May. Cécile joined me from her home in Brooklyn via Zoom. Cécile McLaurin Salvant, welcome to the Witch Wave.
Thank you for having me.
I am so overjoyed to have you. I am such a great fan and admirer of yours, so this is a true thrill. So, Cécile, I actually want to start what I would say in a more recent phase of your career. Because for those of us who followed you for a while, it seems like you were this, and are, but certainly were this young phenom, literally won Grammy after Grammy 3 consecutive years. And then to my mind, it seems like you got, and I say this with deep love, weirder. Like you started to really let your freak flag fly. And from my perspective, it seems like that happened with your album Ghost Song, though there were little hints before then. Am I correct about this?
I can only say I've always been kind of weird, but I've been hiding it, I think as we all do, right? Hiding it throughout the 20s. And then little by little, as I'm getting older, revealing more of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I always was weird. In school, people would say that I was weird. And I think I got most unique dresser. Like I was just always doing something different. And I got that from my sister, I think, because I remember when I was in middle school, I was really trying to fit in and just like really cosplay as normal. And I was like, just one of the girls. And my sister, I think I must have been 13, she sat me down and she was like, listen, you're kind of a weirdo and it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You need to just grow into that and accept that and like really let that shine. And you'll find your people. People will feel empowered by that too.
Yeah.
And so I definitely took that to heart. But it's funny because I feel like my music and my presentation as a singer was still kind of on a more classic side.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, as you're saying, there were hints of it. I think for me, before Ghost Song, it was really working on Ogress, which is this long form musical fable that I did before Ghost Song that I recorded, but we're making it into an animated feature length movie.
Yes, I cannot wait for this. And we'll be talking about Ogress in a bit.
But so that was sort of the major shift where I said, okay, like, let's really go for it. And it was terrifying. But I can look back on the first album I ever did and I can see hints of it there.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see my interests and my obsessions with like ghosts and with mythological figures and folk tales and tall tales. Like that's been there since I started. Really.
Yes.
If you look closely.
Yes. I always feel like I have a kinship for kids who used to hang out in what I call the low end of the Dewey Decimal System, like books about Bigfoot and dreams and myths and fairy tales dwell.
Love that.
So can we talk a little bit more? I'm so interested in what it is you think your sister recognized in you when she was giving you that advice. What weirdnesses do you think she was picking up on?
I think more so than the weirdness, she was picking up on the enormous effort on my part of trying to be normal and trying to be like the other girls in my class. I think that was what was strange to her. She wasn't recognizing me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We've always had a really rich imaginary world. She used to tell me bedtime stories that were horrifying. She would make them up on the spot.
Yeah.
And the scarier, the better. She would do all these crazy different voices. She would turn into a witch. She would turn into a witch in the pool. She had long, wavy hair. And we'd go in the pool in the summers. It was actually horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
She'd start to whip this long hair in the pool. And then she would turn, she would change. And she'd be like, it's not me anymore. We'd be like, where's Aisha? That's her name.
Mm-hmm.
Please bring Aisha back. And she'd be like, she's gone. And then she would just terrorize us. Me and my cousin, when we were like 8, she probably would deny. She would deny. My sister's also significantly older. She's 9 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would probably say the same to a younger sibling. Like when you have that much perspective, you're an adult and the kid isn't even a teen yet. And you're seeing them go through it. And you didn't necessarily have someone to help guide you through it. So I really cherish that. And I think she definitely abused her power sometimes.
Oh, no.
In terms of just, she was so much older and we were so gullible. My cousin and I, we just believed everything she said.
Yes.
She could really terrify us.
Wow. Well, One of the things that I know everybody brings up when they talk to you, but it's how eclectic your repertoire is. You've spoken so beautifully and written beautifully about how you are interested in just like transgressing or transcending genre. And I am always attracted to people who have like a very strong curatorial sensibility and who pull from all different threads. And let's just start with Ghost Story as an example. You cover Kate Bush, one of my favorites. There's a song by Sting. You have a song from Wizard of Oz. And then, of course, a lot of your own original music. So I'd love to get a sense of what are you looking for curatorially when you are putting together either an album or when you're performing? Because I know your concerts, your performances really vary night to night as well.
So much of it is instinct and intuition that it's hard to say. It's not like a brain first, or it is a brain first, but it's the back of the brain kind of activity. But I think what I love is being surprised. And I have these little obsessions that pop up. I mean, Kate Bush, it was really Wuthering Heights. It was during the pandemic. I was just starting to fixate on ghosts, and Wuthering Heights, it's such the great ghost story.
Yes.
I read it for the first time during the pandemic, and I absolutely fell in love with that book. It's just the greatest book. I can't get enough. I'm going to read it again soon. Just talking about it makes me want to read it.
Yeah.
And when I finished reading it, I wanted more. I wanted more Wuthering Heights. So I tried to watch the show and the movies, and then I found the Kate Bush version. Not to harp on and on about my sister, but I guess my sister's the flavor of the day today. But she assigned me the duty of making a playlist for her wedding. I was 16. She was 25. She was maybe 26. Anyway, she was getting married and she wanted me to make the playlist. And she said, I have a few non-negotiables, like some songs that really need to be on there. And Wuthering Heights is one of them. And I said, what the heck is this? And I heard it for the first time. It just felt like I was going to outer space or something. I didn't understand what I was listening to. And I became completely obsessed. I mean, between Kate Bush's voice, the chord changes on it, the storyline. I hadn't even read Wuthering Heights, and I didn't even know what it was about, this Let Me In Your Window, but it was just so much longing that I understood on such a deep level.
Yes.
From being just a teenage girl.
Yes. You know who like the biggest Kate Bush fan ever is Big Boy from Outkast. He's like the biggest Kate Bush stan. He like inducted her into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I love that.
She just transcends everything.
Yes.
She really embodies what I think you embody. And this has been like my word of the year and will probably continue to be so into next year, which is the word limitless.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
I love limitlessness. I love people who say, you might think of me in this one category, but I'm like a crystal of categories. I'm so many categories, I'm no categories. And that's how I think of you too.
That's really sweet. I think Kate Bush, she does that for a lot of people when you first discover her, not only music, but her dancing and her visuals and her writing. You go, oh, wow. Yes. Things can be bigger than I thought.
Yes.
I could get away with more than I thought. I don't have to do one thing or be one way.
Absolutely. And you brought up the idea of making a playlist. And I love making playlists. I've always been like a mixtape, mix CD kind of girl. And still, like, it's one of my favorite things to do. And it strikes me that you get to do that every night as well when you're performing. And certainly drawing from your own catalog of things you've written, but putting all these different elements together and rubbing them and seeing what sparks fly. And I find that so just like intoxicating. It must be such a fun thing to do every night.
Thank you for putting it that way, because I never really thought of it that way. And I've always said, like, I wish I could just like make a soundtrack for a movie or come up with a playlist or be a radio host.
Yes.
But it's like, I actually do that every night. You're right. This is why I love being in this sort of strange genre, which is, I guess, jazz. I wanted to be a classical singer before, but I wouldn't have been able to make a playlist.
Yeah.
It is a really fun part of the job, is like seeing how one song can feel right after another that's like radically different from it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love how much your performances vary. I've had the pleasure of being in the audience at the 92nd Street Y recently when you did Book of
cool.
Airs. It was so incredible. Like when I tell you, I've seen a lot of live music. One of the peak, most ecstatic experiences that I've had being in the audience. Oh my goodness, thank you. And I'm going to be seeing you at Carnegie Hall doing Ogress in May, and I'm so excited. But I wanted to ask you about space and environment and how it dictates your performances. I know you've performed at the Cloisters, you performed in jazz clubs. Like when you're thinking about the venue, does that also have some kind of influence on the songs that you're choosing or the vibe that you want to bring forth?
I think the only real difference, at least in my thinking before I go to the show, is inside versus outside.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense, just acoustically.
Yeah, just when we're outside, it feels like some songs just wouldn't work. To me, obviously, like the best, the most incredible, like everything works is in a jazz club because I'm close. I can almost touch the people that I'm singing to. And so everything is kind of downhill from there. No offense to beautiful halls and theaters. Like we love them.
Sure.
But there's something really, really great about being that close to people, especially in New York City. I mean, I love singing in a New York City jazz club. Carnegie Hall, love it. Love.
Yep.
But there is that distance. Yes. And there is that formality and there is that grandness. I always tell people, like, I'm trying to tell secrets, kind of. You know? I'm like gossiping. That's my vibe. I'm not storytelling. I'm just gossiping and I'm telling secrets that I'm not allowed to tell.
Yep.
And those get harder and harder to do when you're doing the theatrical, huge hall, whatever it is.
Yeah. I imagine energetically it just must feel so different. Not to talk about myself too much, but I'm actually weirdly going to be making my own Carnegie Hall debut in that I've become, to my delighted astonishment, friends with Jinx Monsoon, the drag queen. Yeah.
Hold, please.
Yes.
Let me breathe.
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay, go on.
She's been on the Witch Wave a number of times. She's become a dear friend. And so she's doing this Valentine's Day show, and that happens to be my birthday. She invited me to do some kind of love spell as part of her offering. And I'm so excited and I'm so terrified. You know,
love.
And so I would love to hear a little bit more from purely selfish reasons of how you do like connect with an audience and a space that large. Are you literally imagining yourself grander and bigger? Does it feel physically different?
I just zone in on specific people. I try to make it smaller. I try to make the space smaller by all means necessary. So one thing that I started doing, I think out of pure fear of the audience, was I thought, like, what would be the most horrifying thing to do? This was back when I was starting in clubs. And I thought the most horrifying thing would be to look at someone in the eye while I'm singing, to really engage eye contact.
Yeah.
And so I started doing it because I thought, I'm so horrified of being on stage. Let's just go for the craziest thing. And the spell, I mean, you've got to, a spell is hard to do for, a crowd.
Yeah. I mean, the hope is that I'm going to harness their energy too and like do a big collective spell together. So
yes,
that remains to be seen. But that is wonderful advice, just really telling that secret one by one to different stars in the constellation, if you will. Thank you for that. I'm really going to take that with me.
Please
I really appreciate that. Thank you. On that note, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. This season of The Witch Wave is brought to you by Black Phoenix Alchemy Lab. Good news. Black Phoenix Alchemy Lab, known by fans as BPAL, has been growing by leaps and bounds since the indie perfumer's relocation to Philadelphia in 2022. The lab's general catalog of perfume oils, hair gloss sprays, and beard oils continues to expand month by month, exploring a wide range of scent types and inspirations such as witchcraft, paganism, fine art, and classic role-playing games. For their Halloween 2024 collection, BPAL has adapted Sheridan Le Fanu's gothic horror masterpiece, Carmilla into a prolific series of 21 perfume and hair gloss blends. This limited edition series also includes some Halloween-y beard oils, such as pumpkin spice and type AB negative, plus a wealth of other delights for those who love to summon the fall spirit year-round. Look for the lab's Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube for fresh updates, artistic inspiration, scent reviews, and more. Or you can dive in directly via their online shop located at blackphoenixalchemylab.com. The Witch Wave is sponsored by BetterHelp. One of the best aspects of being alive, as far as I'm concerned, is constantly learning new things, which is why I love to read and I love to take classes and ask questions. Maybe you've noticed, because I'm so curious and because learning is an excellent way to keep growing at any age or any stage. Lately, I've been learning more about my own ancestral magic, and I'm also trying to learn how to garden, though that one is coming along a little slowly for me. What's something you'd love to learn? As an adult, do you make time to learn new things as often as you'd like, or was that lost in childhood? Kids are always learning and growing, but as adults, sometimes we lose that curiosity or just lose the bandwidth to do it, especially as we get bogged down with schedules and responsibilities. But I can tell you that making time to learn as an adult is such a source of joy. Whether it's gardening or learning a new language or learning about witchcraft or maybe learning how to finally beat your best friend in bowling, therapy can help you reconnect with your sense of wonder because your back-to-school era can come at any age. I'm a big devotee of therapy myself, and I'm grateful that my therapist helps keep me motivated to stay curious and grow and get out of my comfort zone so that I can keep learning new things and expanding as a human, because that's what life is all about. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/witchwave today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, spelled HELP.com/witchwave. This episode of The Witch Wave is brought to you by Blackthorn's Book of Sacred Plant Magic, out now from Wiser Books. Learn to understand plant spirits on a deeper level. With Blackthorn's Book of Sacred Plant Magic, renowned herbalist Amy Blackthorn shows readers how to bring plant spirits into their daily spiritual practice with therapeutic access, subconscious learning, and divining skills. Travel even deeper into the magical garden of scent. Prior books, such as Blackthorn's Botanical Magic, showed a new generation of witches how scent affects people. In Blackthorn's Book of Sacred Plant Magic, we experience scents not only in the here and now, but also filtered through the lens of our past. Using the power of scent, we can create a sense of the sacred in our daily lives. Part reference guide, part recipe book, and part ritual journey, Blackthorn's Book of Sacred Plant Magic offers readers an in-depth exploration of the vital connection between scents and magical practice. This book helps you connect with spirits of plants, place, and people, expand your scent vocabulary beyond just floral, scent, memory, and personal history. You can discover how history affects scent and create scent activations. Amy Blackthorne is a professional intuitive and the best-selling author of several books on botanical magic, including Blackthorne's Botanical Magic, Blackthorne's Botanical Brews, and Blackthorne's Botanical Wellness. The founder of Blackthorne's Botanicals, she has a certification in aromatherapy and was ordained by the Order of the Golden Griffin. Keep up with Amy's book news at amyblackthorne.com and view her tea shop at blackthornesbotanicals.com.
How could you leave me when I needed to possess you? I hated you, I loved you too. Bad dreams in the night told me I was going to lose the fight. Leave behind my wuthering heights. Heathcliff, it's me, I'm Kathy, I've come home. I'm so cold, let me in your window. Heathcliff, it's me, I'm Kathy, I've come home. I'm so cold, let me in your window. Heathcliff.
Welcome back to The Witch Wave. Today I'm speaking with Cécile McLorin Salvant. So, Cécile, we were talking about you having essentially, I don't know if you would call it stage fright, but experiencing feelings of fear and anxiety. I have to say, I'm surprised because you are such a masterful and engaging and I think very comfortable performer when I have gotten to see you. How have you, I don't know, conquered that fear? Is that fear something you still feel, or is that something that was like in the past? I'd love just to hear you talk about fear and performance.
It started off that way. It started off, I used to just look at the floor. I look at my feet, close my eyes, and just sing. And I had this feeling almost like the audience was my enemy. I'd come on and I'm like, they already hate me.
Wow.
This is like a hostile relationship.
Combative. Yeah.
Since I am so non-confrontational, my response to that was just look at the floor, close your eyes, and just do it, and it'll be over soon. I would barely talk. And I just didn't want to live like that. I mean, I was 18, to be fair.
Yeah.
This isn't me either. This isn't my personality either. Time over the years, I kept pushing myself, I think, gave myself little challenges to just do the scariest thing or the most outlandish thing, whatever that might be. Move around, be more free with my body. And I think over time, it's just gotten easier. And now I can't say that I really have stage fright. And I don't get nervous before shows. But I am sleepy in the day. Like I'm sleepy. And I think that's nerves maybe, or that's pressure or something. But I don't like my heart's not.
I don't know why that happened. We just saw balloons show up on the Zoom screen. I have no control over that.
I might have done it. Anyway, it's definitely not as bad anymore at all. I mean, I feel pretty comfortable unless it's like I sang America the Beautiful for the US Open. And it was like 20,000 people in the room and then millions of people watching.
Of course.
And I was scared.
Yeah.
Not because of the amount of people, or maybe yes, but also I was like, if I screw this up, I'm going to be a meme.
Yes.
I better get this right.
And I imagine, too, that audience, it's a lot of people who aren't already familiar with you, perhaps. I'm sure some are, but I'm sure that's also exposing a lot of people who are, they follow sports. And so, it's not necessarily the most generous audience who's primed to adore you as those of us who buy tickets to see you are.
It's totally unknown territory. And there's like Charlize Theron, like... How do you say her name? I don't even know.
I never know.
Charlize is up there.
She can be a mononym at this point.
Charlize is up there. I've got to do a good job.
Exactly. Well, I'm sure you crushed it. Let's go in the direction of your visuals. I know you're an incredible visual artist as well. When I saw you perform, there were some drawings of yours projected on the screen. You were wearing this unbelievable, sort of like Victorian ruff. Your costumes and like the iridescent pageantry that you bring to a lot of your performances is like right up my alley. And certainly your album covers are exquisite. So can you talk a little bit about visuals and how you've been braiding that and your own tastes and styles and self-expression in your offerings as well?
Thank you. I was just growing up around women who had a very specific aesthetic sensibility, women who were makers, artists, made things with their hands. My mom was a fashion designer. My sister is like a painter and a sculptor. She would never say she is, but she is. Colors and visual associations were always a huge part of my life and the way that we express ourselves and the way we have fun and play, on the weekends or whatever. And so I've always had that around. And then when I was starting to tour, there was a lot of waiting in the airport, and you can only do so much when you're waiting around. And I started to doodle. I had always doodled in class. I started to doodle, and then I started to want to put colors on my doodles and get watercolors and then embroider. And little by little, it's just been more and more a part of my life. And it's such a wonderful way to counterbalance this very social people pleaser energy of being a performer on a stage,
Yeah.
And this is I can draw my own stuff. I can write in my journal, draw in my journal. No one has to see it unless I want to. I don't know. It's reconnected me with a sense of play.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just always been a huge thing for me. And I've been over the years trying to figure out ways to incorporate the drawings in the show. I don't really quite know how to do it seamlessly yet. But yeah, and then the clothes, it's I absolutely love fashion and costume and dressing up.
Yes. Fantasy pageantry.
Exactly. I love that.
It's my favorite.
I love that. This is why I love RuPaul's Drag Race.
Same.
Just seeing them dress up.
Yep. This is one of many reasons, Cécile. So I was raised by very artistic and musical parents. My dad's a musician, and they are the ones who introduced me to Ella Fitzgerald, and I love Sarah Vaughan, Billie Holiday, Nina. But you are the first, and I'm like, am I sure about this? I feel pretty sure about this, that you are the first, we'll call you Jazz Plus musician that felt like mine, that I felt like, I wasn't just inheriting a historical legacy of. As much as I love those people, I'm like, oh, this is someone who, I'm a bit older than you. I'm 43. Someone around my age-ish who's pulling from references that really excite me, who feels like you're bringing your music and performance forward in this really exciting way. And just this past week, I was with my parents and I was playing them your music and showing them videos of you. And it felt so cool to get to share a Jazz Plus musician with them. And so I wondered, who are some of your contemporaries that you're inspired by and excited by? I just noticed that you sang with, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, Arouge Aftab, whose music I adore. Are there other people who you love?
First of all, thank you so much for saying that. When I first started singing, I would sing at this festival where everyone was 40 to 50 to 60 years older than me.
Yes.
I was so used to that. And
yes,
love those people, love them.
Love them.
It's nice to have that feeling of generational understanding.
Yes.
But yeah, people that I love now these days, Arouge, of course. I adore Arouge.
Scrumptious.
I love June McDoom.
Oh, yes.
She is incredible. She is my friend.
She is?
Yes.
Ooh, okay.
I love her. I adore her on so many levels, as a friend, as a person, but also initially as a musician and as an incredible, ghostly, insane voice.
Otherworldly. Chills. Yep.
Chills.
Mm-hmm.
Kate Davis.
I don't know Kate Davis. I'm taking notes now, even though I can listen to this later.
These are good.
Yeah.
Of course, I could tell you some people that are pop icons. I love Doja Cat.
Sure.
But, I would say also Venetia Gould. That's another one who is an incredible writer and a beautiful voice. and really interesting. And I don't think she has an album out yet.
Okay.
And then, of course, then there's people that are a little bit more well-known. You'll have your Doja Cats. I love Adrienne Lenker.
Obsessed with her. I think she is, like, people talk about other people as the new Bob Dylan. I'm like, Adrienne Lenker, to me, is the inheritor of Bob Dylan.
She's the better Bob.
But the ingeniousness of lyricism and melody, like, she just is it for me, too. Yes.
Yeah. And Big Thief, like that band is just so beautiful, the way they record. Driving to Warm Mountain, I Believe in You is one of the greatest records, period. Like, it's just everything in there. I just adore them so much.
Mm-hmm.
I could go on and on. Like, this whole conversation could be that, and I would be thrilled to do that. If someone else pops up that's urgent, I will tell you.
Do you know who I wanted to urgently bring into our chat? And I don't know if you know them, but just in terms of jazz that I'm excited by is Alabaster de Plume.
I don't know Alabaster de Plume. Writing it down.
He is from the UK. He plays a very airy saxophone that reminds me of like Ethiopian jazz.
Yes.
But he brings in all these different singers, and it's so mystical and meditative and fresh. I think you'll really dig his music. Yeah. But let's get back to your music. So I want to talk about your most recent album, which I am desperately in love with, Melusine.
Thank you.
Well, first, let's talk about the visuals. It is such a gorgeous album cover. I mean, when I look at it, I think Grace Jones, I think Bjork, I think Miles Davis Bitches Brew a little bit.
Thank you. Yes.
What am I missing? And maybe you could describe it for our listeners who haven't seen the cover yet.
It is me profile with my shaved head, and my tongue is sticking out as far as I can stick it out, like a snake.
Yes.
And the background is some kind of sunset, orange-colored extravaganza kitsch.
It is so arresting and a little bit bestial in the best way, which is appropriate for the content of the album, which is riffing on this mythological creature, Melusine. So I love this myth. Can you give my listeners the littlest primer of this myth and then talk about why you wanted to explore it in this album?
Melusine is a French mythological creature. She is half woman, half snake, but she only turns into a half snake on Saturdays. She is married to Raymond, and she has not told him her secret. She has only said to him, never see me on Saturdays, never come into my room. You are not allowed to see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
He's extremely curious. And eventually years go by, and he wants to know, what is she doing on Saturdays? And he pierces a hole in her door. He looks through the hole, and he sees that she is bathing in a tub with half her body. From the navel up is a woman, and from the navel down is a giant snake's tail. And she sees him see her, and she sees that he's betrayed her. She's asked him not to bother her on Saturdays.
Yes.
Once she sees that he is spying on her, she turns into a dragon and flies out the window. And the legend is that she comes to all of her descendants' deathbeds. So when they are dying, she appears for their final moment.
And I mean, there's so much I love about this myth. I particularly love that it almost feels like a gendered inverse of the Bluebeard myth. This like, don't open that door that, you know, the man says to his wife. And then, of course, she opens the door and sees all these dead former wives. My husband's a playwright, and he actually wrote a version of the Bluebeard tale. Actually, I was first introduced to it through the back door of like Andre Breton, and he wrote this book called Arcanum 17. For those listening who have no idea what I'm talking about, he's basically the godfather or the father of the surrealist movement. And he was kind of a bastard, very, you know, sexist, etc. But, you know, is largely responsible for surrealism. And he writes this little book that's based on actually the star card of tarot. And he's kind of gone up, I believe, to Canada with his wife. I think it's his third wife, to escape World War II. And the character Melusine becomes this beautiful kind of metaphor for him, if I'm remembering correctly, about like the divine feminine and magic and all of this stuff. And so then I was like, what is Melusine? And then I went and read about her. And I think actually the Starbucks logo, weirdly, is a Melusine, like the original
What?
logo. If
Oh,
you go back
wow.
former
Yeah.
iterations, it's that like creature with the sort of serpent tails, but she has like two of them. What was it about this creature that captured your imagination? And for listeners who aren't familiar, I mean, this album is you singing in 4 different languages, primarily French, but also English, Haitian Creole, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly,
Yes,
Creole,
yes.
and Occitan, which is a language I wasn't familiar with. And you're kind of riffing on different aspects of this creature and this myth. But clearly something about this resonated with you deeply. I'm sorry, I just monologued at you and my listeners, but I'd love to hear your entry point into this.
Yeah, I had like a Pinterest board years ago
Yes.
where I was collecting female monsters for an imaginary project. I didn't know what it was for, but I said, I'm going to just collect as many like medieval illustrations or other illustrations of female monsters and witches, weird creatures.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know about Melusine. I mean, I'm French, but no one ever told me this story. And I started looking up, like, okay, what are these mermaids and half women, half whatever? I was really wanting to, for some reason, just something was pushing me towards this hybrid thing, half woman, half whatever. Chimeras, I guess.
Yes.
And I found Melusine pretty quickly because I've always been interested in mermaids, right? So she comes sort of as very quickly behind mermaids, right? Because she sort of looks almost like a mermaid. And in some representations, she is a mermaid. She's a half fish. So, of course, just visually, I was all in.
Yes.
But then when I read the story, it was everything for me. I wish this had been my Disney movie growing up.
Exactly.
Because it was so much about this woman who was like, she has this freakish thing about her, this unique thing that she actually enjoys. She's having a good time and she wants her peace. She wants, like, there's room of one's own in there. There's like the possibility of just like her having her Saturdays to herself as a wife and as a mother. Seeing that to me is just, I think it's radical now.
Yes.
She has 10 children, 10 boys. She is married to this man, and yet she has claimed her Saturday to herself to be a freak.
Yes.
I love it. You know, there's
Yes.
not to love. And she's bathing in this tub. She's brushing her hair. There's something very sensual about it.
Luxury.
There's, of course, this kind of strange, like, phallic thing, obviously, with this snake's tail, which is so much larger than her husband's snake's tail, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Yeah. And then there's like secrets, which I think are so fascinating, and curiosity, which is so fascinating, and betrayal. As time goes by, I also sort of identify with this man now who's like, what is she doing?
Yeah.
He's curious, but I think he might also be slightly jealous. And like, I would be jealous too. Like, what are you doing? What are you having so much fun by yourself? I want to ruin that. I want to know what that is and ruin it. So all of that, and the turning into a dragon, like that fierceness, like, which I feel like I don't have, or like I have to summon it from somewhere. So sometimes I just have to summon it from these mythological creatures because I feel like I'm so meek.
That's so surprising for me to hear you see yourself that way. I think of you, I mean, I only know you as a performer, but I think of you as so vivid and bold and strong and brave. And that's what you project. And there's so much confidence there. But I totally understand that that's part of you. And then there are these other parts of you off stage. So that's fascinating.
I need to do that somewhere.
Yeah.
I've got to have that boldness somewhere. I can't have it in my life almost, you know. That image just really helps me. And then, you know, the flight and the return to the descendants, like it's all just so, so beautiful. And I've always wanted to do something with that. And I actually feel like the album is one way, but I'm like, I wish someone would make a movie into, like, make it a series, make it a movie, make it an opera.
You need a visual album. Beyonce can do it. Why not you?
Yes.
Come on. Oh, and yours would be so fucking rad. I would love to see that. You keep mentioning secrets. This is something that keeps coming up. And You actually introduced me to an artist that I was not familiar with. I was watching your Amoeba Records, What's in My Bag. It's a great YouTube series for those who don't know, where people go to Amoeba Records, I think in San Francisco, and you get to go shopping, and then we get to see what you bought.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful way, again, of curation for us to get to know the artist. And you talk about Abby Lincoln, and you talk about how not only do you love the album that you pull up, and forgive me, I'm forgetting which one. It's Straight
Ahead.
Straight Ahead. Thank you. And you talk, first of all, about how she really empowered you to start writing your own music.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to hear you talk about how that happened for you. So that's a part one, and I promise I'll get back to it. But also, when I was then falling down the rabbit hole, thanks to you, I discovered a song of hers on the album Devil's Tongue in 1992 called The Music is the Magic.
Mm.
And she has this refrain, the music is the magic of a secret world.
The secret to the world, yeah.
Yes. And this is the most mesmerizing song, and it's all about music and secrets. So
And magic.
Yes, which we'll get to. But how did Abby Lincoln help you start telling your own musical secrets, if you will?
I think that's the sign of a great, great artist that she was. And not always, because some artists and some art you see and you go, I could never do that. That's so impressive. Oh my gosh. But some art invites more art. And I think that's what Abby Lincoln does. She invites you to want to sing, to want to write, to want to make something. And when I first heard her, I thought, I had always said I would never write a song because I was annoyed that it felt like I had to. Like, I'll never write one. I will just only interpret. And I heard the song she wrote called Holy Earth. And I thought, I do want to write a song. She makes me want to write a song.
Wow.
I don't know that there's a lot of interviews of her, but every time I've heard her speak in interviews, on videos that I've seen online, she just makes me want to go write something or make something. I love people who are like that. Linda Berry does that.
Oh, dude.
Right?
She's one of my favorite absolute goddesses in my pantheon.
Yes,
she's the
too.
best.
Me too.
Ah,
And Linda Berry does that for me.
I can't believe I just called you dude. Sorry, Cécile.
Please, listen, I am from Miami.
Yeah.
I was growing up in the 90s. Dude is very familiar to me. Dude
I just got
home.
very excited. I grew up in Jersey, so it just fell out of my mouth. But yeah, so Abby Lincoln made you feel emboldened to express yourself musically.
Yes.
Ah,
And there was something about her writing that was you don't have nothing to say. You might have a little something to say. You might have something a little bit interesting. And so I wrote a song called Woman Child, which was just about this feeling that I had when I was, I think, 18 of being completely stunted and not an adult and not grown up and feeling like I was totally just unprepared for life.
yes, yes. And it's only increased from there. I mean, it feels like I should have counted before, but I would say a lot of it are your own songs braided in with other songs, correct? I know Ghost Song, your prior album, was it about half your original music? And
I think it was half. I don't know how much Melusine is. Maybe 4, maybe half or a little, who knows?
But I just love it, and I really admire that about you so
Thank
much.
you.
And I just love your songs, truly, truly. On that note, we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be right back. This episode of The Witch Wave is brought to you by Mithras Candle, as it so often is. Fall is here, and with the cool autumn air and darkening evenings comes a radiant tool for creating the perfect sacred setting or cozy moment. Of course, I'm talking about my obsession, Mithras candles. These pure beeswax lights are inspired by the contemporary science of photobiology, along with the ancient pagan practices and cosmic mysteries. Mithras candles are handmade by my mythic and scientific pals in Philadelphia, and they come in traditional golden yellow and sensual black hues, with other colors and collaborations popping up seasonally. You will be hooked like I am once you experience the gorgeous Byzantine hand-dripped style of a Mithras candle and their honeyed floral aroma. These candles are made with soul to carry your intentions to where they are needed. Go to mithrascandle.com to pick up the perfect glowing addition to your magical moments. Witchwave listeners get 24% off their first order by using offer code WITCH at checkout. That's offer code WITCH at M as in magic, ITHRAS candle.com. They truly, truly, truly are the best. I love the podcast Missing Witches. Whenever anybody wants me to recommend another witch podcast, it's usually one of the first ones I mention. And so I'm always excited when hosts Risa Dickens and Amy Tarok have a new offering. And out now from North Atlantic Books is the Missing Witches Deck of Oracles. This magical new deck from Risa and Amy includes 52 cards featuring some of history's most inspiring witches, from Zora Neale Hurston to Hildegard to Mayumi Oda. Each card features an illustration and message on one side, and the other side shares each witch's story alongside an insight, prompt, or practice. The Missing Witches Deck of Oracles also includes an accompanying guide booklet. The deck and booklet are written for everyone, including feminist, anti-capitalist witches, artists, writers, and creatives, those new to and experienced with the craft who want to connect with real feminist magic and liberation, anyone looking for inspiration, insight, and empowerment. In addition to hosting the Missing Witches podcast, Risa Dickens and Amy Tarok are authors of the books Missing Witches and New Moon Magic. The Missing Witches Deck of Oracles can be used as a daily or weekly ritual, pulling one card or spread at a time. This is an opportunity to commune with real feminist histories and magic, and the deck presents each witch's story in potent and poignant spells that restore, inspire, and empower. The Missing Witches Deck of Oracles is out now, and lucky you, North Atlantic Books is offering listeners 30% off plus free shipping on the deck with code WITCHWAVE. That's all one word, all caps, at www.northatlanticbooks.com now through December 31st, 2024. That's northatlanticbooks.com with code WITCHWAVE, though please note this offer is limited to recipients with U.S.-based mailing addresses only. Check out the Missing Witches Deck of Oracles today. Hello, my friend. I am often asked about how people can get even more witch wave and more magic in their lives overall, and I have the answer. You can join me over on the Witch Wave Patreon. This is how you can hear from me and my other magical guests on a weekly basis via my Witch Wave Plus bi-weekly bonus episodes. And you get the regular Witch Wave episodes ad-free, and you get detailed show notes for all of it. And all Patreon members also get access to my monthly ritual workshops, which you can attend live or watch the recording of at your leisure throughout the month. Rewards for some tiers also include magical merch and contests where you can win witchly prizes, as well as early heads up about my workshops before they sell out, and opportunities to work with me one-on-one. And all backers get access to our exclusive digital coven, where you can connect to a community of other wonderful Witch Wave witches around the world. So head on over to patreon.com/witchwave and sign up. It's a magnificent way to get more magic in your life and to support the show. Thank you so much.
histoire. Aida Wedo Fenestro. Mélusine liée son histoire. Aida Wedo Fenestro. Son image n'est que sa moitié. Maman Mélusine, Aida Wedo.
Welcome back to The Witch Wave. Today I'm speaking with Cécile McLorin Salvant. So one other aspect of Melusine that I wanted to ask you about is you weave in a little bit of Haitian voodoo. There is the Loa, who feels like a presence on the album. And I'd love to hear about your relationship to spirituality, to magic. Were you raised with any background or religious upbringing or any sense of magic, from your parents or otherwise?
Absolutely not. My mom's side of the family is French and atheist and pretty much anti-religion, very Cartesian, very rational, no ghost stories. What you see is what you get, science, da-da-da.
Yes.
My dad is Catholic. My dad is Haitian, my mom is French. And my Haitian grandmother, I think, was always a little bit nervous around voodoo imagery. I think that's the case for some Haitian Catholics.
Yep.
Just like, oh, this is the devil. Magic is scary to a lot of Christians.
Yes.
And I grew up with that as the foundation. But again, I grew up also in this imaginary world that was full of magic and full of strange creatures and witches and, ogres. And I've been drawing for years, and actually I've been more and more as I get older thinking about Haitian voodoo and my connection to that. And the fact that my ancestry most probably has that baked in, and how that is this incredible fusion of voodoo tradition from Benin, but also Catholicism. And it's just such a rich thing. And I was working on Melusine. For some reason, I wanted the cover to be a voodoo flag. So in voodoo ceremonies, there are these flags that are all sequined.
Yes.
They're sequined and beaded, and there are these different lois and different characters. Usually these flags have been traditionally made by men, but a few women have started making them. And one of the first, I think maybe she is the first woman to make voodoo flags and to have an atelier of other people making flags with her. Her name is Miralande Constant. She's incredible.
Ooh.
She's actually now become this international artist, really, and she makes the most insane voodoo flags. They're huge.
Can you spell her last name? Because I'm sure listeners are going to want to...
Constant. It's just Constant. Miralande.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. She was at the Venice Biennale. She's now showing her work kind of around the world. For someone who loves textiles, it makes me crazy. I love it so much, but it's all these beaded, sequined, shiny things. And I think part of it is also because the spirits like shiny things, right?
Yes.
And so she makes these incredible, once you see them, you are going to lose your mind. You are going to love them so much.
I'm so excited.
Oh, I reached out to her and I was like, would it be possible for you to make my album cover? And we went back and forth, and I told her what it was about. Actually, she speaks Creole. I don't speak Creole, so I had to go through my aunt.
Oh, I see.
My aunt told her, and she said, oh, that's Aida Wedo, which is a Haitian Loa, a voodoo spirit, who is half woman, half snake. And I said, are you kidding me? And she is the sister/wife of Dambala Wedo, who is the snake that creates the world, right? I had chills down my back. I thought, this is insane.
Yes.
So anyway, she ended up not making the cover, but she came over my parents' house, and my parents had drawings of mine, and they showed her my drawings, and she said, oh, we're kindred. There's voodoo elements.
Yes.
And I thought, how strange. I don't know anything about voodoo. Strange that it would show up and that she would see that. It means a lot because I've always felt kind of disconnected from my Haitian heritage. And I've always felt more connected to the French heritage and to the American, because I think my dad didn't share it as much. I don't speak Creole. I speak French. And so to feel like there was this deep connection and a spiritual connection when my family is so not about that.
Yes.
I was so moved and I was so honored and excited.
Yes. Can I ask how old you were roughly when you started getting more interested in this? I want to see if my theory is correct.
I think there's always been a little something, but it's recent.
Yes.
It's not that long ago.
Okay. I was wondering if it was like around when you were 28 or so. Like this was around your Saturn return, as they say in the astrological world.
Yes. I think it was sort of late 20s. I mean, to me, that's recent still.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm asking. It's so delicious to hear you talk about this because in my experience, like our ancestors do speak to us and they do kind of reveal their magic to us as we get older and as we're ready to receive it.
Yeah.
That is my belief. I don't want to impose that on you, but I'm not surprised that this magic is finding its way to you through different like filtration systems.
Yes. Well, I think what's strange is that because it's not something that's passed down orally and like I don't know who these people are that are coming through.
Yes.
It feels like strangers. And then when you have someone who's like, oh no, this is connected.
Yes.
You go, oh, wow, incredible.
Yes.
I thought it was just random.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, there's a song on Melusine, which is called Fenestro, which is in Occitan, the language of my ancestors on my mother's side. And I didn't know, I forgot. My cousins saw that on the album. And they said, do you remember that our grandma used to sing a song called Fenestro all the time? And I was like, no, I don't remember that. Yes, she used to do that all the time. I was like, oh, I thought it was just some random idea of mine.
Yep. Oh, that's so wonderful.
Same with embroidery. Like the fact that I embroider is ancestral. Like I thought I was coming up with it, but it's actually just like an ancestral tradition on both sides of my family.
Absolutely. So let me ask you, I mean, this is such a like expansive question and you can take it in whatever direction you want, but what is your relationship to magic?
I often will be like, yeah, I don't know anything about magic. I don't believe in magic. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in the supernatural. I'm very here. I'm very now. Like I say this, but then I look at the art that I'm making. I look at the music that I'm making and it's just popping up through that. I don't think I'm equipped to even answer that question because I actually don't know. I mean, I'm seeing what's coming up and what's coming through.
Mm-hmm.
And it is totally different from what I say, which is no ghosts. I don't believe in any of that stuff. I don't believe in witches. I don't believe in da-da-da. Like it's not real. And then it comes through. I write this piece called Ogress about like this supernatural being that's like eating people and that's magic. And
you're talking to a witch right now, Cécile.
I'm talking to a witch right now. Like I think I really am this hybrid thing of like this French Cartesian side that like refuses, but then this other side of me that's just like so connected to that and loves that and like wants to play with that. Like I want to play with that all the time. And I have friends who are witches. I have a friend, Lily, who's a witch and they're amazing, but I'm not afraid of it, which is I think different because I think certain people deny it and push it away because they're afraid of it. I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah.
I will say one thing. So it's funny because as much as I don't believe in anything, right? Crazy stuff has happened. Like one time I had a piano recital that I wasn't ready for and I willed a car accident, which is bad.
Sure.
I must have been 14 years old. Somebody was driving me and I said, car accident, car accident, car accident, car accident, like that over and over again in my head, just chanting.
Yeah.
And we had a little fender bender. It wasn't bad. No one got hurt. It was just enough that I missed my recital and I could postpone it for a week and then practice. And I was like, did I do that? And of course, there's two parts in my brain. There's one part that's saying, no, I didn't do that. And another part that's saying, I totally did that.
Yes. I have similar stories from that age too. I totally can relate to that. You bring up chanting. And I'm reminded of the fact that the root word for enchant is chant, which is singing. And that a chanteuse is an enchantress, essentially. That song and spells were traditionally considered part of the same thing or, two sides of the same coin. Does singing feel spiritual to you or magical to you?
It does. And it does as I'm getting older more and more. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the power of it. and the like activating aspect of it that I didn't see before. Before I think I was just like trying to focus on figuring out how to sing, right?
Mm-hmm.
What to sing. But I see how activating it is. I see
Yes.
how like it literally moves things and people.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean move them emotionally. I mean, it does do that, but it physically moves an inert body
Yes.
that does not want to move. And it
Mhm.
physically calls up things and brings things into the room that were previously not there. I say this to my boyfriend a lot because he is very spiritual. He's very religious. He prays every day.
Mm-hmm.
He prays for me when I get sick. I ask him to pray for me. I say, please pray for me because I don't know how to pray. But you know, he knows how to pray.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I told him the other day, I said, you know, I think that under the right circumstances, or if I had had a different childhood, or maybe as life goes on, I feel like I would have been a mystic. I would have been like so all in.
Yes.
One of my number one influences is Hildegard von Bingen.
Oh,
I love Hildegard.
me too.
Love Hildegard. And she is like the visions that she had. Like all of this, I don't know how to talk about what I think about all this stuff because
Yeah.
it's like, it's my favorite stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's my favorite thing. Like a woman having mystical visions and writing these visions and like seeing things that are not out here in this like tangible space
Mm-hmm.
and writing music about it. And all of that is my favorite. I love it. And I feel so deeply connected to it. But I've had that thought often. And I've had the thought of like, I've always wanted to be in a trance. I'm scared of it. I'm scared of trance state.
Because of losing control.
I think I'm scared that if once I go, I'll never come back.
Yeah.
And I'm scared of being crazy. I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, and that's such a weird, strange thing to say, but like I can feel the potential of that in me already. And so even when I get into like higher creative sort of mania, it scares me because I go, oh my gosh, I'm starting to lose the ground.
Yes.
I'm losing it.
Yes.
And it's exhilarating, but I'm scared to lose it. And I feel like a trance state. I dream of it. I mean, and that's a big part of Vodou ceremony too.
Yep.
I dream about being in a trance. I want to be in a trance. I'm scared of being in a trance. And I feel also like I could probably get into a trance state so quickly. Like I am so primed.
Yes. I mean, it sounds to me like what you need, and maybe we'll talk about this offline sometime, is, you know, a teacher or a guide or some kind of container. You know, if you have these gifts, there are ways to express them and cultivate them, but make sure you do so safely and staying grounded and not getting swept away and lost. Like there are actual like tools and rituals and ways to make sure that you are safe. And then again, maybe you don't have to do it because you are, at least my experience of your music is like, I have been brought to an ecstatic state, like hearing you and seeing you. Clearly, you're doing something intuitively anyway. So I'm not even trying to push this on you. I'm just more curious sort of what your relationship is with it. And I'm wondering, do you feel resistance to, I don't know, magic or mysticism because of your mother's side? Like, is there some part of you that thinks it's like foolish or not to be taken seriously? Or is it more your fear of it being so real that you'll get swept away?
I think it's both. I think it's also this just like built-in cynicism.
Yeah.
I'm so cynical. I don't believe anyone on anything that they say. I always am like, no, but like really what happened? You're lying.
Yeah.
But I like that about myself too. It's just weird, but it is ultimately these things are coming up intuitively and they are coming up out of my control. And I kind of like it so far. Anything I write these days has elements of the supernatural and of magic.
Yes.
I need it, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in this volcanic thing, which is like, I'm obsessed with volcanoes, which are such a rich space of activity, right?
Oh, yes. Okay. Well, let's pivot now towards this project that we keep teasing, but I really do want to talk about in our final moments together, Ogress. This is a piece, I didn't realize you were working on this even before Ghost Song, so it's been years and years. I know, and you mentioned earlier that you not only have written this whole album, I know you've designed costumes for it. You're trying to make this into an animated film. I love animation. I can't wait to geek out with you about all that. But can you just share a little bit about this project? How did it begin? Where is it at right now? Where do you want to see it go?
I initially was going to name one of my albums Ogress. I was looking for titles, and I ended up calling that album Dreams and Daggers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
I was going to name it Ogress. The more I sat with that idea, the more I thought, no, Ogress, she's got something else in store for her. Something else is coming up with her.
Mm-hmm.
So let me wait. And then the story kind of came to me maybe in an afternoon. I had like this paragraph of a story of like, what happens to the ogress? Where is she? What's her story? And it ended up being this 80-minute sort of musical fable / murder ballad about an ogress living in the woods near a village. And as I was writing it, I realized that I wanted it to be visual as well as musical. And I wanted it to be an animated film so that I could draw. And so we've been working on it for the last 6 years now.
Wow.
And it's in development. And we're going to start production probably next year. We have a teaser already, which I'll send you.
Yes.
It's really, really exciting. And I'm so attached to her, to what she's perpetually going through, to how fierce she is, and to how weak and vulnerable she is. She lives in the woods. She's so connected to the woods, and the woods are magic. There's like, I don't want to say too much.
Yeah.
But I am so proud and happy to be a part of it. Like, it's no longer mine. It's a team of so many people that are working on it, that we're all working on it together. And I cannot wait for it to be a film that people can watch finally and listen to.
I can't wait too. And so when I and my husband and my 2 dear friends who love you, when we go see you perform at Carnegie Hall in May and we see Ogress, and without giving too much away, but will there be a visual aspect to this? Will we see any animations, or is it hard to say because it's so far away now?
We may have like some backgrounds, some like moving backgrounds, but nothing too intense. The problem, I think, with doing it live and having visuals, I'm singing the whole story and I'm going into different characters. It takes a lot of attention. It's really hard. And then once you lose the thread, you're out, you're done. And so the challenge is finding a way to keep people engaged with the story and understanding what's going on, because all we have to go by is like these different expressions and these sort of slightly different keys, but I'm singing all of the characters. So it's like a whole, it's like a whole journey.
Yes. This is making me wonder, this is a little bit of a random reference, but I'm wondering if you have ever seen like Taylor Mack perform.
No.
Okay. I'm just thinking of that kind of marathon. I suppose they would be contextualized as a drag performer, but, you know, have been on Broadway and have done like these amazing, they're queer and like they take the American songbook essentially, and they've sometimes done like 24-hour performances of all these different songs that are then recontextualized through a queer lens. And it feels very
I love
sort
that.
of like vibing a little bit. I don't know, just my intuition is telling me to ask about that. And then I also saw this show last year called Terse by Heather Christensen, I want to say, where it was almost like this ritual to the divine feminine, where a lot of it was her original music, but she also was pulling from texts of Hildegard and also some other divine feminine mystics and even like Robin Wall Kammerer and stuff. And I don't know, I'm only bringing them up. You are so in your own lane, and I'm not trying to compare you at all, but just in terms of how performers that excite me have tried to take on these massive visual projects and performances and scaled them into theaters. Like, it's really hard to do. And I'm sure you're going to do it masterfully. I just see you sort of in a similar-ish lineage as some of those artists. And I'm so excited to see what you do. I know it's going to be absolutely astounding. And in terms of animation, like, who are some of your favorite animators, or what are the films that you love? Are you a Miyazaki person?
I love Miyazaki, and actually my co-director is a huge Miyazaki fan.
Yes.
My co-director's name is Leah. She's in Belgium, and we both are like Miyazaki standards.
Deities.
And like he's on the vision board for the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the movie Asparagus. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
Do you know, just on the Criterion Collection very recently. Yeah.
It's so incredible. Susan Pitt, is that her name?
Yes, I think that's right.
She is, maybe to me, just one of the greatest artists, period, of any medium. And her paintings are insane, but that movie Asparagus is just it's so feminine too. It's so like
a fever dream.
Yeah, it's fever dream of a woman in the best way. She's just a master. She's like, to me, she's one of the masters.
Yes.
She's definitely like top of mind when I'm thinking of
animation. Have you seen the film Belladonna of Sadness?
No.
Okay, so trigger warning, high sexual violence content. It's essentially about a young peasant. She's violated and then she makes a pact with the devil and becomes a witch. I think it's from the 70s. It's Japanese. It's one of the most like psychedelic, beautiful animated films I've ever seen.
Oh, I can't wait to see it.
I really think you're going to like it too. Anyway, I could do this with you all day. I know I have to let you go in a moment. I always like to ask people in our final moments of the show, like, what is something you'd like to speak into existence? What is a dream, a desire, something you would like to manifest for yourself, your art? Now is a space for you to speak it into the universe.
I don't know why this has been coming up a lot. It was actually recently my birthday, like 2 days ago.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. But I got the cake. The wish that kept coming up, and people were asking me, oh, what else do you want? Is just health, I guess.
Okay. That's a great one.
I don't know why it's coming up a lot, but it is coming up a lot. I'm just like, I want health. And not just for me and for the loved ones.
Yes. I love that that's your answer. I feel like most people, they talk about like a creative ambition or a goal they have. And clearly, you're welcome to speak that into existence too if you wish. But if health is where you want to end, I mean, certainly I wish that right back for you.
It might be because I feel like the creative stuff is fine. It'll take care of itself.
Yeah.
We can always do that.
You're a master manifester already.
We can always do that. But health, health, we can't always do. Like, health is sometimes a little tricky. So I don't know. For some reason, it just keeps popping up. I hope, knock on wood, that it's not a bad thing that it's coming up, but it is. So
I think it's probably a good message for you to take extra good care of your spirit and your body right now, especially from my outside perspective. You travel a lot. You're doing these enormous shows. I was just looking at your touring schedule and my mind was blown.
Yeah.
So I think it's good that you're like, let me take care of this vessel in whatever way that you need to take care of it so you can keep bringing ecstasy to people like me.
You're sweet. I think it's also like people close to me have been sick.
Yeah.
Not good sick, like nasty sicknesses, illnesses.
Yeah.
And then we just lost recently this incredible guitarist named Russell Malone died like maybe a week ago. Right after a gig, he just had a heart attack and just died.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And I didn't know him very well, but that type of stuff you just go, oh my gosh, the body is such a precarious thing.
Absolutely. Jeez. And nobody is immune to that.
Yeah.
I think somebody might look at someone like yourself and think, wow, look at this like star-studded, award-winning goddess of a musician, and none of that protects any of us from health and sickness. So I'm glad you're paying attention to it. I think it's good that you're going to trust your intuition on that. I don't think you're manifesting something bad for yourself, if that gives you any peace of mind. But I think it's great that you're appreciating and not taking for granted the health that you do have. And long may it last. May you continue to be vital and vibrant. And my goodness, Cécile, I imagine it's come through many times throughout our conversation, but I truly am so grateful for the music that you make and the magic that you make. And I can't wait to keep seeing you, and just going to be a very ready and adoring audience member, probably for eternity. I mean, maybe you'll do something completely egregious and horrific, but I can't imagine that would happen. But thank you so much. I so appreciate you, and I can't wait to see you perform in May. Here's to Ogress.
Thank you so much. See you then.
That's it for the show. Thank you again to Cécile McLorin Salvant for sharing her musique magique with me. Do you have questions, feedback, need some witchly advice, or just want to share something magical that happened to you recently? Drop us an email or voice message over at witchwavepodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you, and you just might make it on the Witch Wire. The Witch Wave is a Phantasmophile production written and produced by me, Pam Grossman. This episode was recorded, edited, and mixed by Josh Wilcox and/or Walter Nordquist and myself. Our theme music is the song Hand and I by Lycanthia. Our new Witch Wave logo was designed by Thunderwing. Special thanks go to Matt Freeman, Laura Antal, and Cece Pascal. You can check out information about this and other episodes on our website, and now buy Witch Wave merch at witchwavepodcast.com. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at witchwavepod, and you can check out my witch emoji for iPhone by going to witchemoji.com or downloading it in the App Store. My books Waking the Witch from Gallery Books and Witchcraft from Taschen are available everywhere now. And if you want more Witch Wave or you would just like to support the show, please join us over on Patreon. That's patreon.com/witchwave. Thank you so much for listening. Witches are the future. I'll catch you next time on The Witch Wave.